Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Tulley, President and Executive Writing Coach at Defend, Publish, and Lead. And welcome to episode 214, Fragmented Tasks for Fragmented Days. This is one of the rare episodes that I'm actually recording something while it's happening. And I thought that was a better way to do it because I'm sure tomorrow or next week or the next time I record, I won't remember. And what the focus of this episode is going to be about is about the day that has a bunch of meetings and you have this super tiny little slices of time that you could do other things, but it's not really enough time to make anything exciting happen. So all of the fragments that I have today, which I will show on screen for people watching on YouTube, are less than an hour, generally in kind of a very rushed period of time. Like I'm rushing from one activity to another thing. And so I just wanted to talk about how I'm thinking about using that time today in a way to get some things completed, both scholarship and not scholarship, but just a way not to let those little fragments go. And I do want to say this. I am all for having a day where there's 15 minutes to zone out, to go outside, to look at the clouds and do all those kinds of things. And normally, I definitely would build one of those into the day. However, I'm coming off of a 3-day period where I was mostly at home with a sick kid, and I just have a lot of stuff to catch up on. And so this is my first full day back at work. So I want to make sure that I'm doing that. So what I'm going to show on screen, and you don't need to see this, I'll talk through it, but I like a visual when I can do it, is I made a work list of what is happening today, partly for me to get a grip on where am I supposed to be all day long, which is in my Google Calendar. It's also in my planner. But I also like to just have sort of a commitment to saying, all right, these are some things that I'm going to knock out today. So I put this one in Penzu. Sometimes I'll just write this on a note card, but for the purposes of today, I've talked about Penzu on lots of our episodes. If you want to check it out, Penzu. I don't work for them. I just love what they do. Free online notebook. I like the way it looks. And so I just made a work list for what happened today. So I just wanted to talk through how I'm thinking about those little fragments of time strategically as more of us are having those in our workday. Like they just, especially in a meeting packed day or a day with a lot of commuting or running around, we feel like we don't get anything done. And what I just said to one of our clients the other day is the reason you feel like that is because you aren't getting anything done. You're not finishing a project. You didn't do this one thing. So that nagging feeling that you have, that's real. Like that's a real thing. And so that doesn't mean that, somebody's to blame for it or anything like that. It just means that there might be a way to use some of those fragments strategically. And I'm not saying using every scrap of time ever to that. We all need a minute to get a cup of coffee, to sit outside, like I said. But if you want to use some time, I'm going to talk about how I'm just thinking through these times today because I have a particularly fragmented day and I'm just trying to be a little proactive about it before I walk out the door to do it. So I mentioned this before on the podcast. I'm an academic parent. I still have a school-aged child at home. So my mornings are always like morning rush of doing all the things and then dropping a child off at school and a dog off at daycare sometimes. To make sure that I have, then work time available. So that all happens. I had an early morning meeting this morning from 8:30 to right before I recorded this podcast. So that was the first thing. I already had a meeting like right out of the date. So I went and did that. Right now I'm recording the podcast. So on my little schedule that's on screen, it says record podcast from 9:30 to 10 a.m. These episodes generally take me, depends on if I have to do them over again. I try to give all of our listeners kind of a first take when I do podcasts because that's just how I like to do them. But then of course I have to do show notes and stuff like that. So usually it's a half hour to do an episode if I know what I want to talk about like I do today. Then once I do that, I'm going to commute to work. So I'm 15, 20 minutes away, depending on the day. I built in 20. And then once I get there, I have a block of about 40 minutes before I have to run a faculty writing group. So from 10:20 to 11 a.m., I am technically free. And so I wanted to list out some of those tasks that are happening in what I just called fragment 1 during the day. So this weird 40-minute period. 40 minutes in general is enough for me to at least kind of look at a piece of writing, maybe change a few sentences, maybe work on a section. But my brain, I know today is not there. And partly that is because I just got finished completing a bunch of page proofs for my book on academic motherhood that's going to come out from Routledge. But I know I will put that out there. I know some people have been asking about that. So I know I don't have the bandwidth to get into something really challenging. And so what I do know I need to do, and one thing I am going to do for my scholarship today is I just want to go through and update my scholarship chart because that was a priority, was to complete those edits. I have several other projects that I had to put on hold just for us, a hot minute to take care of these page proofs for 2 weeks. Because there was just a lot of things I needed to change in there, the way the book is going to do some things. So the first thing I want to do is just take 10 minutes and just cross off stuff that's complete, look at where deadlines are, see what I need to be paying attention to. Updating my chart is just kind of looking at what did I want to do during the spring semester? Where am I? Can I rejuggle? And what I'm trying to get at in this fragment is to figure out what is the thing I'm going to do Friday. Today is not a full on do some, intense scholarly writing today. I knew it couldn't be because of the fragmented way it plays out, but I also knew I didn't have the bandwidth. So really what I'm doing is kind of setting myself up for tomorrow. So when I do have my regular writing time back, I can do something. So that's the first thing. That would take me about 10, 15 minutes out of that fragmented time. The other two things I want to try to do, I don't know that I will do both, but one is to delete a whole bunch of desktop files that are just random receipts, quick screenshots for this podcast. I am the worst at just storing things on my desktop. And I'm like, well, I'll get to it later. Well, my goal is sort of like when I can't see any screen anymore because every little slot for like a little icon on my desktop is there, it's time to delete stuff. And I've been past that time. I didn't even know that little icons could go off into some screen off into the distance, but it's got to happen. So yes, I'm going to actually sit there, drink my coffee, delete as much as I can, get some things completed. Should I get that completed, I'm going to submit some expense receipts for an expense report I have to do. So that expense reports in general, I'm kind of motivated to do anyway. And I can also do those on my phone in other ways. So that one I put is kind of like, if I've got some time, I'm going to do that. Probably not. I bet I'm going to be deleting a lot of screenshots. I then run a faculty writing group from 11 to 12 today. It's in our library. I always talk about how much I love our library. So it's downstairs in our library, but it's also close to where some coffee is, some food is. And so what I'm going to do once I get out of that group is I need to get lunch of some sort or a coffee or something. And then I have about 45 minutes. So I have between 12 and 12:45 to get some work done. So my plan was to get some food and to start in on some grading that I have to do. I'm caught up with my grading, which is amazing. I've been really trying as a New Year's resolution to stay on top of it. So I am pretty much caught up, but I also just assigned a new week's worth of work and I have a lot of people submitting things already. So I wanted to get a little jump start on that. I have a meeting from 12:45 to 2. And then I get my second fragment in the day, or actually my third fragment in the day, and I actually on my list on my screen for those on YouTube, you'll notice I had 2 fragment 2s. It's actually a third fragment. I have this other weird fragment that I often have between 2 and 2:20 when I'm finished with meetings or whatever it is I'm doing, but then I have to leave to go to a school pickup and pick up from the middle school. So I have 2 to 2:20, and generally what I will do, I really try hard to do this, is just get in my car at 2:00. I sometimes will even go to the school pickup early, which is crazy to just get in the school pickup line, but I do. I'm somebody that's, driving, I'm in a car, I'm not using public transportation. But then when I do is because I'm sort of like hell, I'm kind of there waiting. I will force myself to do the stuff I don't want to do. And for me, that's a lot of phone calls, like phone calls about the orthodontist or phone calls about the eye doctor. So that's my unpleasant fragment from 2 to 2:20, where I do knock out those things because it's still, business hours. I can reach people. So most of that fragment, I use it for scholarly reading. If you've heard another episode, I a lot of times will use that fragment to kind of sit and read in the car. This time I'm going to use it more for phone calls. I'm going to try to do that. Technically, I'm working on going to the school pickup like somewhere between 2 and 2:40. So in this case, my plan today is I'm just going to leave work 2:05, 2:10, somewhere as soon as I get my act together after a meeting, go to the drop off and then get in the car and start knocking out those phone calls because all of them have been kind of put on hold the last couple of days and I've got at least 3 that I need to do. So I need to do that. Then I need to pick up a kid, drop said kid off at home, and then I need to go back to work because I have another work meeting at 3:30. So, I mean, this is a kind of day that's really full with obligations to other people, but I am working in a few things. You'll notice I said I'm updating my scholarship chart. That's something that is a scholarship thing that's going to set me up well for tomorrow because I know by the time I get to 5 p.m. today, I'm not going to care about what's happening tomorrow. I'm not going to be that proactive. So I just want to kind of catch myself before I don't do that. So I want to update it and have a real plan about what I'm doing in my writing session tomorrow. The deleting the desktop files, the longer I wait on that, the longer it's going to take me to do it. And so I put basically an organizational task, a fragmented task there. You'll notice I have a teaching thing where I'm working on some grading. I've got, like, if you want to call it a financial thing, I'm working on, submitting some expense reports. I've got some personal things in there where I'm taking care of doing some phone calls. In this day that we're saying on here, like I know some people will try to cram in like a 40-minute session at the gym or something like that. I'm not even trying to pull something like that off today. I'm just going to say I'm going to walk my dog after dinner and that's going to be good enough for today. So I hope this is helpful. I really try to capture as much as possible sort of real life ways people are using time to complete scholarship and just being very realistic and sort of calm about approaching writing. So hopefully this helps this week. And if you have any questions or concerns or ideas for episodes, we are always open to answer those. You can always reach me at Christine with CH, Christine at defendpublishedlead.com, or you can reach us on our website. There's a button on the front for a free 30-minute chat, and we are doing those through January and February. So anyone who wants to have a chat, whether you're a client or not, you can schedule one or reach out to me. Also, if you're interested in looking at some other ways that we might be able to support you, you can click our button for services and see what we do. Happy writing, everyone.